NWA Championship Wrestling from January 18th.
That song would have been better for you, actually.
1986.
I think about it.
Except I do not roll along.
Old Man Vinny.
Old Man Vinny lies there.
Just rolling along.
I don't roll along, though. Show opened with a replay of the Midnight Express dropping Ricky Morton throat first across Jim Cornette's tennis racket. The announcers are talking about that feud, saying it's the hottest feud in the country. And even though Morton can't talk right now, he can still wrestle.
You know, the only bone I ever broke, by the way, was my arm when I tripped over a tennis racket. So I could blame Jim Cornette for all of this. Because it seems every bad thing that happens in wrestling involving a tennis racket is Jim Cornette's fault.
I just like the idea that a man has experienced violent throat trauma to the point where he can no longer speak.
That reminds me.
He is okay to compete in high-level, violent athletic sports.
This was the week that we were supposed to get the Bill Apter deal.
Yes.
The scouting report with the Rock and Roll Express. Did we watch the wrong show?
No.
Huh.
I think they just realized it was a bad idea and scrapped it.
Wow. Well, I mean, it was.
It was a terrible idea. Well, it was a
fine idea. It didn't have to go 20 fucking minutes.
It didn't go, 3 segments, whatever it was.
Dude, if they want to do a 2-hour scouting report with Jimmy Valiant, I will watch it.
Fair.
But Magnum TA was boring.
He can scout anything, by the way.
Yes.
Opponents, partners, women, dogs,
barbers,
sandwiches. I don't care. I would watch Jimmy Valiant talk about anything for 2 hours. So the first match was Ronnie Garvin versus Pablo Crenshaw. Fans were singing, "Beat him up, Garvin, beat him up."
A great chant.
We need more singing. I was stunned how much offense Pablo Crenshaw got here. Garvin usually does not waste his time with these fools, but they went back and forth. In fact, you could argue for the first few minutes Crenshaw was winning on him, and Garvin had a backdrop and the knockout punch for the win. He joined the announcers for the promo.
The best part of this, by the way, during the match, we got a big show coming up. Superstars on the Superstation.
Yes.
And they're looking for dream matches from the fans. And they want you to send in via postal mail your dream match. And apparently they've gotten so many that they are no longer accepting letters, they're only accepting postcards. And so Tony is giving out the address, and he's asking fans to send letters, and David Crockett roundly chastises him. Cards, Tony, not letters.
Because it's probably David's job to go through all this.
It probably is.
So Ronnie Garvin joins the announcers for a promo. He says, "The big right hand is not the only thing I have." I was going to say, I've got technical skill, or I've got, a sleeper hold or something. No, he's also got desire.
Yeah.
And that's thanks to the fans.
And God.
And God. He believes in God. He said he had Flair's number, and Flair was going down in 1986.
Very babyface, God-fearing promo here by Ron Garvin.
Yes, it was. It was fine. Ivan Koloff versus Benny Trailer.
Benny U-Haul Trailer.
That's what they called him.
Yes.
The announcers noted there were fans from a local church there. Then they explained these fans from a church had, and I quote, "really lit into the Russians."
Goddamn devil-worshipping Russians.
The Lord preaches forgiveness except commies.
Except communists, that's right. And no wonder Ron Garvin was so over. The church group was there.
That's true. Ivan did the laziest knee to the gut ever. He leaned his leg. I'm not sure his foot even left the ground. He leaned his leg out to the side, and U-Haul Trailer jumped over it.
U-Haul bumped like a U-Haul.
He was no good. But I'll say this for U-Haul. As David Crockett pointed out, he's trying his best. You know why? Because he's an American. That's what he said. He tried his best, but he failed over and over again for many minutes.
Oh, God, for hours.
Ivan beat him up forever. Took him outside, slammed him on the floor, threw him back in, kept on wrestling. Eventually won with the Bret Hart-style sit-down clothesline.
I think the Berlin Wall went down in the middle of this match.
It may have gone up and then down.
Could have been, yeah. They mentioned that Crusher Khrushchev was hurt last week.
Yes.
So if you remember the big speech that I gave, talking about how the win by Sam Houston over Crusher Khrushchev, how, man, Sam Houston, they made him into a viable challenger before he got that fluke win. The man was nearly limping by the time he got out of the ring. Shows you what I know. Wasn't a storyline. The guy really hurt his fucking leg.
We'll have more to say about Sam Houston. But first, let's
Hopefully not a lot.
I don't know. More importantly, let's talk about Jimmy Valiant and the promo he cut here.
Oh, my God. Look at this man.
I believe...
And you can, because I put a picture on my Twitter of Jimmy Valiant. I swear to God. You know, I mentioned it was not from Finding Bigfoot. Number one, because Finding Bigfoot's on Sundays. And number two, they have all of these recreations of Bigfoot on Finding Bigfoot. None of them looks as much like a Sasquatch as Jimmy Valiant did during this promo.
I believe, I'm firmly convinced that through some branch of some family tree that's been lost in the records, Jimmy Valiant must be Mark Briscoe's long-lost uncle.
Dude, Mark Briscoe would just be like, who is this guy?
They are both complete wild men, except Jimmy dyed his hair. It's like the only difference.
It's funny because he goes, I never got dropped on my wig.
That's what he said.
And I was like, it looks like a wig. And it wasn't.
He said he never got dropped on his wig harder than what Tully had done to him, pile driving him on the floor. And he said their plan was to get to the Dust Man by going through the Boogeyman, but the Boogeyman can fight his own battles, and Boogeyman's going to get you. And he pumped his fist and said, yeah!
He said, I'm not playing with a full deck of cards, and I've been missing out on some house payments. What?
I don't know.
And you know what's funny?
Jimmy Valiant.
All we do is rant and rave about all these wrestlers nowadays where the storyline is that they're all in poverty. And if they don't have this WWE job, they're going to be out on the streets. Jimmy Valiant's the one guy where I like to believe this man's got no money.
Yes.
I like to believe that he may be working for free. I like to think this man is absolutely on welfare. There's no way he's getting a check. He's just coming out here for the love of the game.
That's right. So we got Jimmy Valiant versus Golden Terror.
Okay. This match.
5 stars.
First off, literally. Let me say that word one more time. Literally. Every move Jimmy Valiant did was either dancing or cheating.
Fact.
He didn't do one move that did not involve dancing or cheating.
He threw the man into the post. He hit a thumb to the throat.
Which, by the way, he had to lick his thumb every time before he jammed it into the man's neck. I don't know why.
He did a lot of choking.
You know, maybe it's because if you lick your thumb and then you jab it into the man and it breaks the skin, by licking your thumb, he could suffer a serious infection.
Aha.
That's all I can think of.
There was a lot of dancing involved. And
He did do a sleeper.
Which is probably a choke.
I was going to say it could have been an illegal
Let's
sleeper.
give him the benefit of the doubt and assume it was a choke.
But when he put it on, I was screaming at the Golden Terror, please make the ropes.
Yes.
Don't let this match end.
We must see more Jimmy Valiant.
And he did.
And by the way, when you say that everything he did was either cheating or dancing, I believe that dancing this good should be criminal. That dancing this well should be illegal. So Golden Terror got about 2 moves in, and then he missed a corner charge, hit the turnbuckles, and went down like a fish. Valiant hit some terrible offense, and then the boogie woogie elbow for the win. 5 stars.
This, swear to God, this was worth an entire year of the WWE Network.
Yes.
I will subscribe from now until January 17, 2017, minimum, because of this match.
That's right.
This man is a superstar. And by the way, I can't believe I've mentioned this before. If you're one of the new subscribers who came over during the Black Friday deal, so you've only been here since the end of November, you need to go back into the archives. I'll even give you the date. I believe it is May 26th of last year when Jimmy Valiant appeared on Wrestling Observer Live.
Oh.
It's the best. It is the best. His promo that we saw earlier, 15 minutes. Yeah. Nonstop. I don't think I got 8 words in. He just went on and on and on. Hasn't missed a beat.
Great.
He may have just continued the promo that he did here.
If you got him on your show in 2015 and he got a promo on the Golden Terror.
I should have asked him about that. He would have.
Sadly, the segment eventually ended.
And then, as soon as it's over, they go back to the booth, And standing right there is Ric Flair.
Yes.
Getting ready for an interview. So Flair has been watching what is unfolding in the ring the entire time. I would have given $1,000 to have been inside Ric Flair's head as he observed this match. What he must have been thinking.
Got to keep this guy away from me.
You know what's funny is they come back to Flair and he's standing there and he's kind of jiving a little bit.
Yeah.
Like you've been dancing.
He probably admires that part of him.
Yeah.
So Rick, first he addresses the hot women in the crowd calling his name and says the others who are not calling his name were so ugly they'd be in trouble if a dog catcher showed up.
Wow.
He bragged about the woman he had bedded 2 days ago.
Not last night?
Huh?
Not last night?
I thought he said 2 days ago.
But has there been a 2-day drought for Ric Flair?
Well, if he was talking about that one.
Oh.
It was probably one the other night before, too. We just didn't bring her up. So he addresses Ron Garvin and said, and I quote, all these geeks out here, unquote, believe in him.
I told you guys. I told you all.
He started plugging matches in Philadelphia and Fayetteville, talked about fucking some more and said, woo!
Yeah.
The Russians did a promo.
Oh, Ivan's head.
Nikita had a copy of Sports Illustrated that apparently listed himself as a candidate for Sportsman of the Year. Low standards, I guess, in 1985.
I guess.
He noted that the Road Warriors had not been listed. Ric Flair had not been listed, but he and Nikita Koloff had made the list. They were ranting about the six-man titles, and as you noted, Crusher Khrushchev was out with a leg injury, so they were saying they were just going to fight Americans by themselves. Until Paul Jones interrupted. He said, I am not going to insult you by offering the services of an American, but of a great German.
Yeah.
Baron von Rashke.
Yeah.
Ivan was sure to stress that the Baron was from East Germany.
That's right.
That's important.
Yes.
And Nikita was kept on ranting, and Tony had to cut off a ranting Nikita Koloff as they went to the ring.
The Baron, at this point, was only 46 years old. He looked at least minimum 65 years old. He looked so old.
He was an old, skinny, fat man. Tony Zane was a flabby, middle-aged man. The skinny, fat man beat up the flabby man for a while, and then he goose-stepped him with a claw. And all I could think this whole time was, I'm really supposed to believe that that guy there is going to scare the Road Warriors.
Well, he was a good technical wrestler. He had a few good holds.
I will say this. He had the cauliflower ears.
Yeah.
That is the sign of a tough man.
That's right. He looked fine in the ring.
Sure.
And then they go back, and the Russians and the Germans teamed up for an angry, growling interview. And as wacky as this was, and as old as the Baron looked, they were already so much better than the League of Nations.
Oh, God, yes.
Like, it wasn't even close.
Yeah, 100 times.
Like, can you imagine if they'd been doing this interview, and first off, you got to imagine, like, this was filmed in 86. So you got to imagine what the 86 television looked like. But then I want you to imagine the League of Nations somehow in HD, walking onto the screen, and they've all got their wacky colors, and they've all got, their shaved bodies, and they've all got their WWE verbiage, and like a battle back and forth between these two teams. It would be like jobbers.
Oh, yeah. So,
Sheamus, can you imagine on this show?
Among the factoids I pulled out of this promo on American Cowards, Andy Serkis, I believe, secretly a wrestling fan and modeled Gollum on Baron von Rashke.
Could have.
And Baron, I noted how he was a skinny, fat old man who was supposed to scare the Road Warriors, and he explained that Americans, they were lacking in heart, so they'd try to make up for it with pumped-up bodies. He dismissed this. He mentioned his great manager, Herr Paul Jones.
Paul Jones, your main man.
Paul Jones.
Yes. Your main man.
And he was listing all the baby faces, Dusty Rhodes and Magnum TA and the Road Warriors, or should I say, the Road Runners. And the Russians all cackled, and then he made the claw symbol. What a loon.
What a great promo.
It was great.
It was great.
Sam Houston versus Art Prits.
Incorrect. Michael Samuel
They
Houston.
did give his full name.
Michael Samuel Houston.
So Sam Houston has been doing not even squash matches. He's been getting narrow wins over jobbers for months now. And last week, he got the biggest win of his career when the Russians' evil backfired on them, and he defeated Crusher Khrushchev for the Mid-Atlantic Heavyweight Championship. So he comes out here. I'm not sure if this is officially a title defense, but it was his first match as champion.
What a showcase.
He was no different. He went toe to fucking toe with Art Prits. And all I could think was, dude, just try to make a name for yourself.
Oh, he was.
Try to get over.
He just was no good.
Try to be a star.
You know what he was? He was a cross between Kevin Von Erich and Bob Backlund. Because every time he did a hold, he would look up at the crowd and he'd smile.
On their worst day, Kevin Von Erich and Bob Backlund were much better than Sam Houston.
Yes! I'm talking physically.
He reminds me of a smaller, less talented Terry Taylor.
Well, one way or the other, this match went on 8 hours.
Yes, and at no point did Houston come off as the bigger star until the end when he won with the Bulldog.
I was hoping that Art Pritz would win. And then there was a moment.
I thought he might.
There was a moment in the match where Sam Houston sets up for the Bulldog, but then I guess he remembers that we forgot half the match, and so they just keep wrestling. And even the announcers are like, I thought he was setting up for the Bulldog, as in, can you hit the goddamn Bulldog so we can go home? This was like, this, I was hoping Sam Houston can show up on Raw Monday so they can immediately give up on his push. That was my hope when this was over.
So after Pritz held him down with a chin lock and got a near fall with a hip toss, not making that up, Sam Houston, Mid-Atlantic champion, nearly pinned with a hip toss.
But he wasn't.
He did a kick out. He finally wins the Bulldog, and Tony Schiavone screams, "Good win for Sam Houston." Bullshit. That was a horrible win. It
was no good.
Dusty Rhodes came out in the coziest sweater you ever saw.
God, this guy. Every week on TV, there's something weird's going on.
Yes.
His hair's fucked up, or he's got a weird sweater.
He's either with Baby Doll in her glittery shirt or a sequin shirt. So they cut to a shot of the fans, like 20 fans, and 19 of them are passionately chanting Dusty's name. And there's one guy in the middle who must just love Ric Flair. He's just sitting there stoically.
He does not like this.
No. So Dusty says Baby Doll was the hottest woman in the world.
In the world. In the 80s.
I'm pretty sure if he had panned back to that crowd shot, I could have picked out 5 or 6 hotter women.
Oh, let's not be mean to Baby Doll.
And so they said Baron was the ugliest man in the world. That's possible. And Dusty plugged appearances in Portland and Seattle for Don Owen. Woo! Talked about taking Baby Doll to the Himalayas.
That was definitely done for us.
Absolutely.
Because we've been reviewing these shows.
Yeah. Thank you, Dusty, for thinking about us in 1986.
Yes.
And planning a Northwest swing.
Exactly. There's no coincidences, Vinny. You know that.
Of course not. He explained he had taken Baby Doll to the Himalayas. He had put her on a yak. And this proved the kind of money he was willing to spend on her. Babyface promo, everyone.
Yeah.
Babyface promo.
And then she...
Baby Doll then says, "I'm sorry to the fans. I have not had time to respond to all of your letters because taking care of Dusty is a full-time job."
Oh, yeah.
Babyface promo. I'm just mystified. And then Dusty declares, "Let's go take a bubble bath." And they left.
A bubble bath.
Yeah.
Which they didn't take, by the way, based on his appearance later.
He came out later dry.
Yes.
So,
with the sweater on.
And fully
That
clothed.
is not a sweater that you wear into a bubble bath.
No. Barbarian versus Ray Taylor. There already was a guy named Trailer on the show. So they couldn't call him Ray Trailer. We had to be Ray Taylor. He was big. Like a boss, man.
Yes.
Thank you. Yes, I was going to wait until you said something. So it was the big boss man as the greenest, fattest guy you ever saw. And
man, was he fat. And white.
And shirtless.
And how many times have we talked about how there are these jobbers on this show, and it's just like they got no hope. Mm-hmm. Are they aware that they're career jobbers? I need to interview some of these jobbers. I got to ask them, were you like a teacher and you loved it, but, they'd come to town or whatever, and you just had a job, being a jobber. I mean, like, did the Jeffords boys really expect to main event WrestleMania or Starrcade someday?
Probably not.
I don't know. But Ray Traylor, he had such an obscene body. And he was so white, and he had these tiny little trunks on, no shirt. And watching it, you knew why he dressed himself up like a policeman shortly thereafter. But this man achieved. This man broke out of the pack of jobbers and succeeded in this business. Congratulations to him.
Amen.
He was only 23 here.
Yeah.
He facially, if you watch 1996 WCW, he looked facially like Tony Schiavone at this stage of his career. He had Tony Schiavone's face and your body, and he's out there, and
his body was better than mine.
It probably.
Yeah.
But you were a better worker than he was at this stage of his career.
At my best, I was better than Ray Taylor was here.
Yes.
I was not more talented, because as horrible as he was, you could see also a man this size and so light on his feet.
He had talent.
He could move.
But he was no good yet.
He had hope and potential.
Yeah, that's why he made it.
That potential was 100% untapped. He achieved 0% of his potential here. Later he did. But yeah, Barbarian squashed him for a while. This actually went through a commercial break.
Oh yeah, I couldn't even believe it. Don't switch that dial. More Ray Taylor when we come back.
And every time they go to commercial, it has graphics at the bottom that appear one letter at a time.
Yes.
And there's a picture. It's usually of the match that is just finished. It's just a still shot. And this still shot was from the first half of this match. It was Ray Taylor's back flying straight at the camera. It may as well have said, "Stay tuned, you'll see more back fat." So the match continues. Barbarian grabs this very large human being, hits a body slam. David Crockett began to speak in tongues. He cannot process this excitement. And then Barbarian won with a diving headbutt, and Tony Schiavone said, and I quote, "That's awesome." And he was right.
It was, the best part was the body slam. When Barbarian gets Fat Ray Taylor up in the air, and David Crockett screamed at the top of his lungs like he just saw Jesus come back. You've never seen a man so astounded at what he had seen before his eyes as Barbarian lifting up this fatty and slamming him.
Magnum TA did a promo, said he wanted a piece of Nikita Koloff, and then Magnum TA did a squash match against a man named Lee Peek, Leepeek.
These jobber names are so amazing.
They're all
Lee
great.
Peek.
Lee Peek, and Magnum won in seconds with the belly to belly.
And then Tony. Tony's there with Dusty Rhodes' doctor.
Yeah, did you write his name down?
I didn't write it down. The point of it is,
Yes.
the doctor says Dusty is now fully recovered, and he doesn't need to wear that extra boot around anymore.
No.
And Tony concludes, Dusty Rhodes no longer needs that boot.
All right.
That was it.
Yep.
They went to commercial.
They went to commercial.
I was like, wow,
And
cool.
And then they came back, and there's Arn Anderson. First of all, I know we've talked about how there's like 25 belts too many in this promotion, but Arn standing there with one belt all polished up around his waist and another belt all polished up over his shoulder. Looks like the biggest star on the show. And Ric Flair was on the show, for God's sake.
Yeah.
So he begins to speak, and he says, I don't like to come out here like an idiot, shouting and spitting, but I am irate right now. You just showed footage of Dusty Rhodes' own doctor saying his foot is cleared, he is 100%, he no longer needs to wear that special boot, and yet he has been wrestling in that boot for weeks still. He put my brother on the shelf, kicking him with a steel-toed boot, and not you, Tony Schiavone, no one in Jim Crockett Promotions, no one's done anything to punish him. And he's got a good point.
He's got a great point.
He's got a very good point.
He goes, I'm not a criminal, I've never stolen anything, and they want to lock me in a cage with some crazy fucker wearing a steel-toed boot.
Yes.
And I'm like, this man is right.
And he said, if you're going to make me do it, he hinted he's going to break Dusty's leg again.
If I had been a fan, and I just started watching this show when we started watching all of these on the network, I would be baffled at why Dusty Rhodes is such a popular babyface.
It is amazing. Yes, in the long term, it was fighting fire with fire. But
Yes, you're right, but in the short term,
Yeah, over the past month or so,
God.
he's just been a dick and not a womanizer, but
he's a womanizer.
I guess she knows about it.
Yeah,
She's fine with it.
it is a how would you phrase it? I wouldn't call she's an escort.
Yeah.
I wouldn't call her a prostitute. That's too strong a term. Even though I think that's what an escort is.
If
But,
it's a full-time job, there's a lot more to it than that.
yeah,
Although it is made very clear that's an important part of the job.
she is an escort, and she services him, and he pays her, and they're both cool with it.
She's basically a mail-order bride.
But they're not married.
Right, but
It's an escort.
She has many of the same, it's implied that she has many of the same housekeeping, meal preparation duties.
Exclusive escort.
Yeah.
Kind of like a mail order bride. What a weird thing this is.
It's bizarre.
Now, granted, I will say, even though Arn was absolutely right in this promo, this is not an example of a promotion that did not know how to book heels. Because as we'll find out as the show goes on,
You are correct.
these goddamn heels are the best.
Yes. Rock and Roll Express versus Jerry Garvin and Larry Clark. The Rock and Rolls used a lot of hammerlocks, and
Oh
they
my
won with a
God.
double dropkick.
Just a bunch of arm bars, and then they double drop kicked in one. It went like an hour.
Yes.
And I was like, couldn't we just have him interviewed by Bill Apter? Because that had to have been more exciting than this goddamn match.
It would have been different. Jim Cornette came out for a promo.
And it was funny. They have this match, it's so boring. And then they go to commercial, and they got the crawler on the bottom of the screen, and it says, and I quote, "Back to the action when we return." I was like, well, you know what? That was not action. That was a bunch of holds being exchanged.
So Jim Cornette comes out for a promo. He is upset that all the 12-year-old girls around the country have been writing him letters, protesting the heinous things he had done to Ricky Morton. He buried the spelling and the vocabulary of these little girls. So if they're going to write in, they should just talk about how great the Midnight Express were instead of wasting the time of not only Cornette, but also his many secretaries. Awesome. And this led to the Midnight Express versus Larry Vickery and Bill Tab. Larry Vickery.
Where was Boogie Woogie? I was dying for him at this point.
Bill Tab was no good. This was slightly more exciting than the Rock and Roll Express match because they did more than hammerlocks.
Yeah, they did,
Suplexes a lot.
I guess.
It was not very good either. And
The only thing to learn out from this match is that even though the Midnights were heels and everybody hated Jim Cornette, the announcers still put over what an awesome, dangerous tag team the Midnight Express was.
yes,
Because the announcers are not there to bury the heels and make you believe that the heels are geeks. These are very, very dangerous heels, and they may kill the Rock and Roll Express. As fans, we can only hope that the Rock and Roll Express can prevail.
all true. Tully Blanchard versus Gene Ligon. Highlight of this match,
JJ.
at the very beginning, JJ distracts Gene Ligon so Tully can jump him from behind. Always cheat.
Yeah.
That's important.
I think I can talk about when JJ starts talking about Baby Doll, and he goes back to Dusty's promo, and he ends up talking about how you need a forklift to get Baby Doll on the back of a yak.
See, if he had just said that, I would have gotten it right away. But he loaded this joke up with extra data.
Yes.
He's talking about the price of forklifts
Yeah.
and the vertical lift necessary to get Baby Doll on top of a yak.
Yeah.
I had no idea what he was talking about, and you explained because she's fat.
Yeah, that was
That's
his joke.
what he was saying,
She's
yes.
so fat that a forklift is required to get her on the back of the yak.
Yeah. Never mind, by the way. You could have said she's riding a yak. That's an insult.
He could have said, which one was the yak?
Sure.
There's a lot of them.
There's many ways you could have gone here. So, Gene Ligon was so bad, I believe at one point he was running the ropes and fell out of the ring.
No. It was like something happened. Like Tully Irish whipped him or something. He just fell down and flew outside.
Yes.
It's like, man.
I've seen a lot of guys screw up, and I've seen and done that bit where you're running the ropes and your head ducks under the top rope and you
Yeah,
come back and close
that
on
was
yourself.
not this.
No, I don't think I've ever seen a guy running the ropes and fall out of the ring.
He just fell down and flew outside. All right, the only other thing to note here is after a long, boring-ass match, saved only by J.J. Dillon talking about Baby Doll being too fat to get on a yak, which sounds like a Dr. Seuss story I'll be reading to my daughter. finally, Tully hits the slingshot suplex, and he pins the man, and he stands up, and he raises his arms in victory, to which David Crockett says, he comes up, and he says, yeah, I did it. He called the action for Tully's victory.
Yes.
Wow.
All right.
Great job, David. I love David Crockett.
Ronnie Garvin came out for a second promo, which at the time seemed totally unnecessary.
Wrong.
I was wrong. First of all, it led to replaying like a 3 or 4 minute clip of that great match he had with Ric Flair 2 or 3 weeks ago. 3 or 4 weeks ago, probably. As soon as this clip was done, Ric Flair comes out. He's out there to address Garvin. Says about 4 words and then sucker punches him.
Yeah. I'm sick of you saying all these bad things about me on television.
And now, pow!
Which is a great line, by the way. Yeah. All Flair does is come out and talk shit about people. And now he's mad that someone had the temerity. And Garvin didn't even talk shit about him.
He said, I'm going to beat you.
Yeah, he just said, I'm going to win.
Yeah.
This is talking shit to Ric Flair.
Absolutely.
Comes out, he beats his ass. And as we've mentioned a million times, Flair comes out. He's got diamonds and gold and all of these suits, and his hair's done, and he's styling and profiling. But he's also the champion of the world.
Absolutely.
And a dangerous fucker. Mm-hmm. And he throws Garvin in the ring and he beats his ass.
This is a complete one-sided ass-kicking.
Yeah.
He destroyed Ronnie Garvin, and in the end, he took him to the corner. He hit his big move. For those of you who are wondering what Ric Flair's big move was, it was a big vertical suplex.
Yes.
It was 1986. Not everyone used headed powerbomb.
And let us not forget, in the ring, as he throws Garvin inside,
you're right,
is Mac Jeffers, who is in the ring waiting for his match.
Yeah.
So Flair goes in, there's Mac Jeffers. Fuck you, Mac Jeffers. Throws his ass out of the ring. Now, we never saw this, okay? But what happened was, Mac Jeffers got thrown out of the ring, and then he politely moved and waited, because when the segment was over, he got back in to have his match.
That's right.
Amazing.
Same thing with the ref.
This continuity is great.
Yeah. So Flair beats up Garvin. He hits the suplex. He leaves him laying. Was this where he sat on him?
No, this was later.
That's later. Okay. So he lays him out with the suplex. He goes out to cut a promo. And there it is. Flair laid out.
Oh, yeah.
Flair laid Garvin out with the suplex.
Yeah.
Then he sat on him because Garvin, when he pins dudes after the punch, he always sits on him.
Yeah.
So Flair sat on Garvin like Garvin sits on everyone else. And Flair, after sitting on him, goes out to cut a promo. After about 6 words, Garvin has recovered, and they start brawling again.
Yes.
So it's a fair one-on-one fight.
Yes.
That's important.
Now this time, Ronnie Garvin beats his ass. Mm-hmm. Pounds on him. He's pummeling him in a one-on-one fair fight. And then in run Tully and Arn.
Yes.
And they triple team Ronnie Garvin. So these 3 bad guys are beating up one good guy.
Yes, everyone keep that in mind.
Yes, pounding on him. And then finally, out comes Dusty and Sam Houston.
Dusty's still in a sweater.
Kind of even the odds, because Sam Houston is not.
No,
this is still unfair.
Magnum was also out there. I like to think he was cheering.
That's true, yeah.
But in the melee, Tully and Arn are distracted. Garvin breaks free. Garvin decks Flair. Flair's dead.
Out.
And Garvin does the sit-down pose. Tully and Arn push him off. And all the baby faces go over to the promo desk area while Tully and Arn are trying to revive Ric Flair's dead body.
Now, before you talk about the promo, if you will recall, there was a period where Seth Rollins lost, I believe, 16 straight matches.
Something like that, yeah.
Yes. He had 2 matches on pay-per-view that he won. There was a SummerSlam match, and there was a Night of Champions match, and he lost every other single match on television as champion.
Yes.
Okay. They didn't have someone beat Flair in a non-title match.
Nuh-uh.
All that happened was Ron Garvin punched him in the head and knocked him out. This was enough to be a fucking worldwide headline in World Championship Wrestling that Ric Flair had been knocked unconscious by Ron Garvin, because you didn't have to pin the guy. All they had to do was show you that if Ron Garvin got his hands on Ric Flair in a fair fight, he could beat the champion and win the title.
That is correct.
That was enough.
That is correct.
And there's more. Mm-hmm. When he knocked him out, he sat on him because, as noted, Ron Garvin sits on everybody to pin them. They didn't have one of the babyfaces go over and count 1, 2, 3.
No.
What happened was he got on the guy, and the Horsemen didn't even allow him to sit on him for 3 seconds.
No.
They were over there like motherfuckers to shove this guy off Ric Flair so that the fans couldn't really see.
They didn't get the satisfaction.
They did not get the satisfaction of seeing him even on Ric Flair for 3 seconds. They had to break it up before then.
Yes.
But this was still massive news because Flair was dead at the hand of Ronnie Garvin.
Now, while you have pointed out so many great things about this, there is yet another great thing you have missed. The way this was all set up. In this very simple, very brief encounter, Ronnie Garvin showed he could take Ric Flair's best shot and come back for more.
Yes.
He got up from that suplex ready to fight.
That's right.
He didn't no-sell it, but he recovered. However, when he got his best shot on Flair, Flair was out.
Out.
Flair was done.
He did not get up.
If you are a fan...
He was carted out.
If you are a fan and you are told Ronnie Garvin is going to challenge Ric Flair for the World Championship in your hometown, you're going to think, A, I want to see Ronnie Garvin beat Ric Flair. B, I know if Garvin gets a fair shot, he's going to win. And C, where's my wallet? By God, I take it.
And then Tully, Arn are doing this promo. And once again, as I've mentioned a million times, the heels are always the victims.
Yes.
JJ is frothing at the mouth. He is so upset that this pack of dogs came in and had the temerity. How dare these three babyfaces come in and beat up Ric Flair?
Arn pointed out, I should tell you, Tully pointed out, it took 3 men and a loaded boot to get one over on Flair.
Goddamn loaded boot.
Which had nothing to do with the action, by the way, except Dusty was wearing it.
He's sick of this cheap shotting.
He dared these faces to meet them face to face and not jump him from behind. Never mind that they had jumped Ron Garvin. I guess they jumped him from face to face, but it was still 3-on-1. That, in their mind, is fair.
And keep in mind, as Tully is bitching, how dare they cheap shot us? This whole fucking thing started with a Ric Flair cheap shot.
Yes.
And then, as if it could not get any better, finally, in the coup de grace, or the coup de grace, Arn Anderson says, there's no way anybody could lay out Ric Flair with one punch. That man had something in his hand.
That's right.
Oh, God, this was awesome. This saved the show.
It really did.
I will give this show the benefit of the doubt for the end of time. Because no matter how shitty it is, there's always something amazing that eventually happens.
That's right.
God, what great heels.
This angle and this promo were so awesome.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. So, as noted, Mac Jeffers returned to the ring, which was a mistake.
Thank God he got his match.
Because he was wrestling Nikita Koloff.
And it's funny, Nikita gets in the ring and Mac Jeffers jumps him from behind.
Yeah.
So Mac Jeffers is like, God damn it, I'm getting my match. I'm getting my $25 payoff.
I've been out here for 20 minutes ready to fight.
Whether I got
Give me a Russian.
Hey, he was all motivated after seeing what just occurred.
Yeah.
Got all fired up. Went after the Russian.
It didn't go well.
Got killed.
He had beat him for a while and paced methodically. And he finally hits him with the sickle. And he wasn't doing it out of the corner. He was doing like the whipping of the ropes clothesline. And Jeffers comes off the ropes. He takes his clothesline and bumps right on the back of his head. Ow.
Yeah. And also during this match, we didn't even mention, during the melee, when Ric Flair did the cheap shot, David Crockett got bumped. And he was down for a good 10 minutes. And he finally returns to action during this match right here. And Tony Schiavone goes, David, man, that was quite a shot. How you doing? And David goes, it was worth it. That's what he said.
I didn't catch that.
It was worth it. He's the best.
He is the biggest fan of wrestling ever.
Ever.
No one has ever loved professional wrestling more than David Crockett.
No, we need so many more David Crockett's in this world.
I'm realizing my memories of him were not sunshiny.
They should be.
I had dark memories of David Crockett.
They should be.
I was mistaken.
What's wrong with a guy that just loves wrestling? Does he have to be great at his job?
I will take enthusiasm over talent.
I love the combination of Tony and David Crockett. Like, they make me feel welcome as a fan.
Yes.
I turn on the show, and they're happy, and they're full of joy.
They like each other.
They like each other. They love wrestling.
They love the fans.
They're so excited for the show that's
always reading
coming up.
anniversaries and birthdays and welcoming church groups into this little studio.
God.
It's all a very happy, fun show.
Yeah. What's wrong with that?
What happened? What in the world happened?
Why do I have to watch these two fuckers come out at the beginning of Raw and tell us how much they hate us?
I don't know.
Come on. These guys are like your local weatherman. Back in the day, when the weatherman come on, he's like, hey, everybody, Vern here. Let's talk about the weather.
Most wrestling announcers were local news people.
Yeah. God, we need that. We need that brought back.
So, Nikita and Ivan and Baron ranted about the six-man championship trophy. I don't think I understood anything any of them said.
Doesn't matter. All that matters is the champions have a trophy.
A trophy, yes. Not a belt, not 3 belts, a trophy. So as you mentioned, they had in pretty much every segment been begging for postcards for this dream match thing. And Tony actually wraps up the show.
Yeah.
He actually gets out his, thank you for joining us. We'll see you next week. And
we got a Meltzer moment.
And David runs into screen. Says, wait.
Yes. Tony's wrapping up the show and Dave jumps in. Hold on a second.
I should have written down what he said. But he literally begged fans, please vote for Ric Flair versus Ron Garvin as the dream match.
Yeah.
That's the match I want to see.
Yep. I don't know if all of this voting was legit with the postcards and everything like that, but David Crockett jumping in and desperately asking fans to vote made me, as a fan, believe this is all on the level. He's not going to fuck me. If we don't vote for Ric Flair and Ronnie Garvin, we ain't going to get it.
No.
God, what a show.
This is one of those shows, sometimes you think a show was good and you go back over your notes and you realize, no, that was not good. I was not a fan of this show when it was done, and I go back over and realize just because of that one segment, it was so awesome.
Yeah, well, and Jimmy Valiant. Yeah, there was 2 things on the show that made it absolutely worthwhile. This, honest to God, this is my favorite show of the week, even more than NXT. Because the NXT television show is an hour long, and I don't want to say anything bad about the NXT show, because there's nothing wrong with it. But sometimes it's just a basic show building up the next show. And all of these build up to the big takeovers, and the takeovers are always awesome. But there are many weeks of NXT television where it's just a show. Mm-hmm. This show, there's something incredible every weekend. And usually it's so simple.
This show is unpredictable.
That's for sure. This is a show where, you honest to God, anything can happen. Not like in WWE, where their catchphrase is anything can happen, but it's not true. This, anything can happen.
But at the same time, while anything can happen, not everything does.
Yeah.
They don't overwhelm you with 12,000 angles.
Nope.
They do promos, they do squash matches, and once or twice a show, there will be a competitive match or a great angle like this. Great!
Yep.
That's tremendous. Don't overwhelm me.
Dude, if somebody wanted to quiz me about all the angles we've seen since this show, since we started watching it, I'll bet you anything I could vividly remember every one.
Yeah.
And he asked me about something that happened on Raw last week. I can't even fucking remember. Everyone's like, oh, Brian's memory is so terrible. No, it's really not that bad. It's just trying to remember all this shit that happens on Raw in 9 million segments. I remember everything that happens on this show.